Hello and welcome back to Shadowboxing. My guest is Roger Cook. Roger, why politics? What's your original occupation?
Well, politics has always been part of my life, whether I was in student politics at university, working for members of parliament, and also in terms of my formative years working in the area of native title or Indigenous rights. So politics has been an important part of my life, and the opportunity to work as a member of parliament is an extraordinary privilege and one which I'm enjoying very, very much.
So can we say that you are a career politician?
Well, a career politician, but certainly not a career parliamentarian. I'm in my first term, if I'm lucky to be returned at the election in March.
How do you
I would
see your
certainly love to
chances
continue.
returning? Who is against you and who is running against you?
Well, we've worked very hard in Kwinana to continue to consolidate Labor support in that area. I will be challenged like anyone at an election time by candidates. Well, the Liberal Party have yet to choose a candidate.
They did not yet.
And we have a number of independent candidates who are looking to put their hands up. So, I mean, we will have a challenge, and we continue to accept that challenge and work hard in the community, because Kwinana is one of those areas which needs a strong government, strong parliamentary representation to make sure we have the services in that community which the Barnett government has so badly neglected.
Why did you choose Labour as a politician?
Two very important reasons why I'm a Labor Member of Parliament. The first is that I strongly believe in the rights, in the inalienable rights of workers and other members of the community to be represented, to get a fair go and to get a fair opportunity in life. The other reason, though, why I strongly support Labor is because there'll be two parties that win government. It'll be the coalition or it'll be Labor. And I've always been of the view that if you're going to make a difference, pious ideas might be one thing, actually getting into the place to make sure you can implement some ideas is much more important.
People who are voting, they are now sort of disillusioned of the two-party system. They say there's not much of difference between Labour and Liberal.
Well, there's significant difference between Labor and Liberal. The Liberal government believe in allowing the marketplace to decide where resources should be spent and to make sure that governments play as little role in the community as possible. Labor, on the other hand, believes that governments have a positive obligation to be involved in people's lives, to make their lives better, and to make sure that market failure does not interfere in people's enjoyment of a fruitful and rich life in the community. So that's why Labor is important, because Labor is the party that provides the services to the community. Labor is the party that in government that makes sure that people have a fair go. And that's why I've always been a very passionate member of the Labor Party, because we believe in a fair go and we believe in getting in there and implementing our ideas.
Labour's base is the unions. Is it any conflict between the unions and Labour? Who is running the party? Who really makes the decisions, and how does it work? People would like to see a little bit behind the scenes.
Sure. Well, there's only one leader of the Labor Party, obviously, and that's Mark McGowan, and he's
not
doing a
leading
great
the party,
job.
is it? Because he got a state president for the party, and you got the leader of the opposition in the parliament.
Yes,
which one?
You have a state president, you have a state secretary,
yes.
And as you observed, the unions or the Labor movement have always been a very important part of our traditions and the historically important role that they play in terms of the Labor Party. But we are a broad-based political party as well, and that we understand that exploitation just doesn't happen in the workplace. People's rights need to be defended in the community as well. They need to be defended in the marketplace. They need to be defended in the courts. And so obviously the Labor Party is a broad-based political movement, and we have to take account of that complex world in which we all operate. Now, obviously the unions continue to play an important role, and I think I really enjoy the guidance that we continue to receive from some of the leadership within the unions. But there are other people who play an important role as well, whether they are the parliamentary leader, whether it's the state president, or whether it's members of parliament assembled in the caucus, which is of course another important leadership forum for the Labor movement. So it's a complex organism, And from that point of view, people like to be able to say it's this or it is that, or it is captured to the unions, or it's captured to party discipline, or it's a captive of some other particular interest. But the fact of the matter is, it's a broad-based community organisation that is always managing the conflicts and the obligations that we have.
On that note, Roger, how can you manage your own complication when you are a representative elected member for Kwinana? Then you also, obviously, the deputy leader in Parliament. So which one is got priority in your life?
Well, first and foremost, I have an obligation to my electorate, the electorate of Kwinana, and I'm passionate about that. And they are first and foremost my consideration when I make a policy decision or form a view about any issue that comes before me. But I also have obligations to my conscience. I have an obligation to the political party of which I'm part. I have an obligation to the community in which I'm active. And the broader West Australian community. So from that
point of view, if there's a conflict there, what you do?
Well, you resolve that conflict, and that's what politics is about. It's about making decisions and finding pathways, through those perceived areas of conflict. And I think people are always keen to say, look, there's a conflict. It's either this or that. But as I've learnt in my time working in the political movement, particularly in terms of native title, when it comes down to recognising people's rights either as the native title holder or as a mining proponent, you have to find win-win situations. It's about compromise, negotiating your way through and striking that balance which recognises and respects everyone's point of view.
People also think politicians are not accountable. That's why they can lie for the electorate. Before election comes, they're promising the earth, then they're not delivering half of the promises.
Yeah, well, there's two key ways that members of Parliament are held accountable. And obviously when the Barnett government, when they were in opposition, promised to build the Ellenbrook railway line, promised to fast track the children's hospital, promised to get on with building the football stadium, and did none of those things, in particular in terms of the Ellenbrook railway line, cancelled it completely. The community has a right to feel aggrieved by that. And they can air that grievance through media or social media, and that's a very effective way of pulling your local politician up. But also, ultimately, they can have their say and cast a vote on the honesty of a government by voting at the election. And I hope the people of Western Australia really take stock of the fact of the broken promises by the Barnett government and vote accordingly.
But if the media is not really giving you guys airtime as much as you used to have probably before, what's the alternative you got?
Well, it's a real challenge, I think, for our democracy, because Parliament ultimately depends upon the media reporting upon what goes on at Parliament. And nowadays, the opportunities to do that, particularly at a state parliamentary level, are much fewer than they used to be. We used to have a much greater dedication of our local media towards state political affairs. And so I think one of the challenges for our democracy into the future is how we adapt to those changes. Journalists nowadays have to file across a whole range of different media, whether that's the website, audio, visual, and ultimately there's less journalists to report upon of what goes on in Parliament. And we've also...
Anyone sitting upstairs in the press gallery?
Well, they used to sit there constantly. Nowadays they pop in and take a snapshot for themselves about what's going on in Parliament that day. So that's a real challenge for us as members of Parliament, because we want to connect with our electorates, we want to connect with our stakeholders within our portfolios, and the opportunities to do so aren't as great as they used to be because we don't have as an active local media landscape as we used to.
Roger, wish you the best for the upcoming election, and we hope you can do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Shadowboxing. See you next week, same time, same channel.